trust me, I'm really looking forward to this afternoon. Walter will be the one getting up at 4 and getting prepared next year instead of me. We'll get to go walk at 6 like we normally do. We had a brief, as you guys know, we had a meeting of the board, of the new board, the 014-15 board, to elect an individual to serve the remaining 2 years of Donnie Burkett's term, as he was elected to be the vice chair. So, and that individual is Jim Burks. So Jim, would you stand up? We also elected a secretary and a treasurer. Where's Walter? Oh, he skipped out again. All right. Am I doing that for you, or are you going to do that? Go ahead. Why did I think that'd be the answer? The new treasurer, who is a continuing treasurer, is Kent Smoke from Kansas. Who is also an at-large director. And pardon me? I wasn't about to say that at all. Then our secretary for the 014-15 year is Laurie Tish. So congratulations to both of you. Yeah, and as you guys know, the board is a group of 20 people, 3 officers, 8 regional directors, and 9 at-large directors who have staggered terms. So, and the regional directors are elected for a 1-year period, but they can serve, if they're renominated by the nominating committee, they can serve up to 3 years as a regional director. So just make sure that everybody understands the governance of how we do that, all right? So we look forward to the continued work of the board, and we do go hang out in some nice places, that's true. But that's after Tom Kenny negotiates the rate, and we don't leave any money on the table, trust me. But the board takes a lot of work, and I just want you to say thank you to those board members who have served and will continue to serve, and then those who are stepping off. The regional directors, I mentioned, there are 8 regional directors. Don Aubrey from the Pacific, Jimmy Burks from the Southeast, Jack Daly from the Northeast, Tyrone Dickerson from Middle Atlantic, Carlos Barrera, Southwest Regional Director, Doug Skiles, Central Regional Director, Mike Fritz, Great Lakes Regional Director, and Rick Reisig, the Mountain Regional. So would you guys stand up? And that job does take some work, because they are supposed to go, and they do, they go see each of the states in their region and make a presentation to the board. Now, I would also, and I would like to recognize the committee chairs of, which are the board members. Each, we only had one committee chair who was not a board member. And rather than read you 20 names and name you the committee, because it's all in the annual report, I'm going to ask them to stand, and we will recognize them as a group. So would the committee chairs of the various committees of the board please stand? All right. Now, see, I got that way I can pick up a little time, and I can get ahead, and Walter can have more time. which he doesn't really want. So, but we will provide that with him anyway. And I would like to recognize, especially recognize Rich Jones, who has headed up the State Society Relations Committee. That is, Rich, where are you? Right there. Well, State of Washington. Now we'll recognize the retiring board members of NASBA. And Galen Hansen, who has completed his term as past chair and will go off the board, will step aside from the board, but will continue to represent us at various strategic advisory committees or the SAGs and the CAGs of the world, okay? So he will continue to be involved. Then we have Rick Isserman, which you guys know, who's an award winner, and Ken Odom, their term is complete as at-large director. So then Don Aubrey, regional director, Middle Atlantic director, Tyrone Dickerson, the Central Regional Director, Doug Skiles, and NASBA's, the Executive Director, or the Director who represents the Executive Directors, Mark Crocker. Now, also, Jimmy Burks, Carlos Barrera, and Rick Reisig step aside as regional directors, but they continue as an at-large director. So they are not a retiring member of the board. So would you, those that I named who are retiring, would you please come forth and, so we can make a presentation to you? Pardon me?
Who's first?
Oh, who's first? Oh, well, we can do that part. Odom? We'll just, Ken. We'll start with Ken since he's walking up here. So we do want to present you with a token of our thanks. And he served as the director at large. He served as a Southeast Regional Director. He chaired the Uniform Accountancy Committee, and that's a lot of work. And he did that during some real issues within his family, and so. But he was able to carry that forward, and he served on a number of other committees as well. And we all know that he is not afraid to take a stand at all. Boy, that's here. Hand it. There you go. Yeah, don't. And he, one of the things he did last year was when the FRF framework was being looked at and in the process of being adopted, he represented NASBA on that committee that was creating it, and he represented us very well. Rick Isserman, there's not much you haven't heard about Rick, so.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed. Where's my, yeah, there we are. But Rick served as the Northeast Regional Director. He served 2 terms as an at-large director. You heard today that he chaired the Reg Response Committee, and that is a huge responsibility. So he has served us well, and we look forward to him to continue serving us, working with us on various committees.
Thank you,
Yeah, be careful going down those stairs. Okay. And of course, I've already introduced him as serving as being our audit committee chair, but I apologize for leaving that off, Rick. The Pacific Regional Director, Don Aubrey. There we go. Thank you. Don dealt with some major health issues this year, but he continued his service, made his state visits, and he chaired the Communications Committee. So thank you very much. Yes, indeed. So the Middle Atlantic Regional Director, Tyrone Dickerson, who headed up our diversity group. There he is. Thank you very much. We look forward to your continued service. Now, for a guy who doesn't get his backswing any more than here, he can hit it 250 yards. The Central, Doug Skiles. He was our Central Regional Director. He reinvigorated the conference calls within the various regions, and he has represented his state, Nebraska, very well, and we appreciate your time on the board. You know, some of these individuals, as a matter of fact, except for Jimmy Burks, who has served 3 years, the other individuals have gone on, they are no longer serving on their state board. So the way our bylaws read, you have to be within 6 months of serving on a state board to be a regional director, because they represent the region, and the thinking 10 years ago was that these individuals need to be within 6 months of being on a state board. So that's why those individuals are have completed their terms, because they're no longer on their state board. And I've mentioned to you that Carlos Barrera, Rick Reisig, and Jimmy Burke have completed their term as a regional director, but they've been elected as an at-large director, so they will continue. Mark Crocker. Yeah. Yes. Mark has represented the executive directors very well, and he's not shy about his opinions either. And you saw this morning, he's not shy about taking pictures, or at least showing them that somebody else took. And I was thinking when all that was going on, did I go up there? I did. That's not one of my favorite things to do at all. But Mark did a great job representing the regional directors. All right, then, thank you. Now, Galen has completed his service as an at-large director, as the 3 years of being an officer, and been very active. He's carried us, he's represented us in lots of regulatory meetings, and he's carried us through those various activities. He is single-handedly responsible for creating our relationship with the PCAOB, as he was on their strategic advisory committee for a period of 8 years?
8 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Not 6.
So that, you know, and he's also been very active in the international ethics SAG or CAG, depending on how you want to say that. So that's, we do, you know, we want to recognize him. Did you get your own award?
I don't get one. I got it last year.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted them to know that we didn't forget you.
You didn't.
That's exactly right. So, and I've already mentioned to you, the strength of this organization is through you and the people that you elect to the board, all right? So I'll now recognize Galen Hansen.
Thank you, Carlos. And now it's our time to recognize you, Carlos.
Right.
We want to...
There's no better title.
We want to thank you for your tireless work. We've loved your stories during this meeting. It's livened it up, but now your time has run out, and it's our time to talk about you. So Tom's going to unveil this plaque that we've prepared in your honor, and so because every one of you obviously can't read it, I'm going to read what is on this plaque. Carlos, during his tenure as chair of NASBA, Carlos Johnson brought new vigor and passion to the term relevance. He elevated boards of accountancy to a new consciousness in the public's mind, and his relentless pursuit to enhance the branding of both boards of accountancy and NASBA has met with ongoing success. Described as many as a man who is careful and thorough in his approach, persistent and relentless in his endeavors, and hardworking and dedicated towards his duties, he also projects a great deal of pride in being a CPA, a regulator, and protector of the public. One may think that they know Carlos Johnson, but you would have to be as thorough as he is to truly know Carlos. During his service on the Oklahoma Board of Accountancy and on the NASBA Board of Directors, Carlos championed the passage of substantial equivalency provisions in the Uniform Accountancy Act. As chair of the organization, Carlos was always eager and willing to tackle complex issues and was stellar at guiding the profession and regulators to come to agreement for the benefit of the public. As a partner with KPMG for close to a quarter of a century, then a senior investment banker with BOSC, Inc., and a partner with Horn & Company, he has built an outstanding professional career. His political savvy is well known in Oklahoma, where he educated legislators and headed the governor's study into the efficiency of the accountancy board. Carlos's persistence and commitment to the betterment of regulation led to his chairmanship of the NASBA Relevance and Effectiveness Committee and to the creation of NASBA's Leadership Development Group, which strategically aligns talent with future NASBA leaders. Described by many as a servant leader, Carlos is a man who gives wholeheartedly and leads by example. His devotion to teaching and education has been demonstrated throughout his career. A former dean of the School of Business of East Central University, Carlos earned his master's degree and doctorate in accounting and business education from Oklahoma State University. When the university celebrated its 100th anniversary, Dr. Johnson was honored as one of the Spears School Tributes, 100 for 100, representing a rich history and diversity of experience among those who earned a business degree from OSU. His commitment to the education community brought NASBA's relevance to the forefront of the academic world and solidified the bonds of friendship and camaraderie with the American Accounting Association. For his outstanding contribution and unswerving dedication to the regulation of the accounting profession, NASBA expresses its most sincere gratitude to Carlos E. Johnson, CPA, and Doctorate of Education. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you. Congratulations. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Stay here.
Oh.
And now it's time that you join the ranks of all other past chairs. And with this pin, I'm going to pin it on you, Carlos, so that you can proudly wear it in the future. Lucky I didn't stick you. There you are.
All right. Thank you. Our pleasure. Well, when you grow up in Wilson, Oklahoma, and you only got 2 shirts and a pair of blue jeans, you know, that sort of starts off how Bishop and I compare what being poor means. But then one of my sisters who's here, she said, "Hey, don't you remember? If you wanted a second bowl of cereal, you had to not eat all the milk in the first bowl." So, but I got two sisters in the back of the room. Plus, of course, Pam helped me. How she grew up, with a golden spoon in her mouth. And so, my sisters are all working women, and they pay into the Social Security system, pay their taxes. You can't, you can't say much more. So even though we didn't have a lot, they're all okay. They've all got good families. I feel better now that I've got rid of all that extra air. But so, but education gave me a way to get out of Wilson, Oklahoma. There were 54 of us in that class, largest class ever, still the largest class. And half of us went to college because our teachers said, they inspired that. Of that half, the half of the original class, half of that group got a master's degree. So, and I just hung around a little longer, and they finally said, if you just leave, we will award you a doctorate. And so I managed to get that done. But education saved it kept me busy, it kept me out of trouble, and it gave me a career path. And for that, I thank every one of you. The next is Walter. And I actually have been looking forward to this. Walter's got a vision, and he's got a mission that he wants to share with you. And he will come up. There he comes. And I am passing the gavel to Walter as NASBA's new chair. Walter C. Davenport.
The future is the past. Let me say that one more time for those who may not have understood what I said. The future is the past. It's long gone. So how can the future be the past? Isn't the future and the past? Well, that's correct. But what I mean to say when I say the future is the past is that someday your future will be in the past. We're living in constantly changing times. So let's take a look back at our future. Does anyone remember the TV show Get Smart? With Agent 86, Maxwell Smart? I know those of you who are under 50 may not be old enough to remember the show, but the show ran from 1965 to 1970. Back then, Maxwell Smart would take off his shoe, turn the heel, and talk to you through his telephone, through his shoe. Today, we have cell phones of all shapes and sizes. And remember when he used to go to the secret headquarters and the doors were open when he walked in and closed when he walked out? Today, automatic doors are commonplace in stores and office buildings. Now, let's say you're too young to remember Maxwell Smart. I offer you the family of the future, the Jetsons. The animated cartoon. This show's first episode was in 1962, and it ran through 1987, 25 years. Back then, Elroy the son accepted video calls from his mother on his wristwatch. Today, cell phone watches are available everywhere. Back then, the family traveled in a space car. Today, you can purchase a flying car, a little expensive, about $200,000. Back then, George walked his dog, Astro, on the dog walker that was extended outside of the house. Today, everyone knows somebody who's either owned or leases a treadmill. Back then, the maid Rosie did everything for the family. Today, we've got robots that do just about everything, from automatic vacuum cleaners to robots that build cars and are used in medicine for both treatment and surgery. The one thing that we have not been able to do is the long and tiring 15-hour work week that George Jetson had to endure. Remember, let me get it straight. I said 15-hour work week, not work day. Now, wouldn't that be real nice? And what about the computer printer? In 1953, the first high-speed printer was developed by Remington Rand. And in 1971, Xerox developed the original laser printer. Then we first started printing with black, then color, then multicolor. Do you think they would envision that in 2014, the medical community would be using 3D printers to make prosthetic devices and an array of body parts? So what does this have to do with the accounting profession? This past April, NASBA, the CPA, and Prometric celebrated 10-year anniversary of the computerized delivery of the uniform CPA exam. In the 60s, who would have ever thought that the CPA exam would go from pencil and paper to computer-based? But because of many of you, you embraced the future by enhancing the accounting licensing exam. To let you know, more than 2 million sections of the CPA exam have been delivered since the introduction of computerization in 2004. Another great example is CPA mobility, whereby a CPA licensed in one jurisdiction can enter into another jurisdiction to practice public accountancy. No notice, no fee, no escape. When this idea was first discussed, many boards had concerns and reservations, and this is understandable as regulators who are tasked to protect the public. Today, 52 jurisdictions have mobility, a great example of working together to embrace the future, even though you couldn't see it. Today, we have social media to communicate to our licensees and constituents, and especially our candidates. We use video conferencing and Skype for our committee meetings. Everything nowadays is in the cloud. The only clouds 10 years ago were in the sky, literally in the sky. And who among us would have imagined 10 years ago what giants Facebook and Twitter would be? Do you think the fear of the future stopped Mark Zuckerberg from creating a social network of more than 1 billion people on Facebook? Here we are in this beautiful JW Marriott Hotel. Did you know that the Marriott empire began as a root beer stand in 1927, right here in DC on 14th Street? In Greek mythology, the god Apollo gave the priestess Cassandra the ability to see the future, but under the condition that no one would believe her premonition. I have not been given the gift to see the future, but I hope you will believe in me, and I ask you to embrace the future without actually seeing it. We have progressed a long way since classical times, even though it's human nature to protect the status quo, to keep doing what we've been doing in the past. As regulators, we do not want to hear Cassandra saying change is coming or that change is inevitable. But my message to you today for this year is that to be effective regulators, we need to accept change and embrace the future, even without seeing it. We need to be ready to move forward confidently based on the strong knowledge that we have gathered. So, as we stand here ready today to embrace the future, there are 3 critical areas in which we need to give special attention. I refer to them as the 3 E's, but not the 3 E's for education, experience, and examination. The 3 E's I'm referring to are enforcing our rules, educating for optimization, and engaging talent. Today, we have the information gathering ability, technology know-how, and resources that our predecessors 10 years ago only dreamed of. We can make things happen. The first of my 3 E's is enforcing our rules. The ALD, the Accountancy Licensing Database, which contains hundreds of information on all of our licensees in the country, gives you, the Board of Accountancy, the ability to identify licensees wherever they practice. And this is a phenomenal enforcement tool. And it's also a tool that supports both individual and firm mobility. We have built it, and we are continuing to add jurisdictions and licensees to this database. This is fantastic news. But is the ALD as robust as it could be? Through enhanced technologies, we can also see who's complying with our peer review and who is properly meeting continuing professional education requirements. And this can all be done at the click of a mouse. No more are the days of 1% and 2% audits of our licensees. Today, we can enforce the rules, the board's rules on peer review and CPE more effectively. The second of my 3 E's, educating for optimization. Licensees should receive a quality education before entering the profession, and after entering, continue with quality continuing education. If we're going to make 150 hours of education and 120 CPE hours in 3 years, our board's requirements, then we need to be sure those requirements are meaningful and not a barrier to entry or continuing in the profession. What's happening before us are massive, open, online courses, known as MUTs, as well as other forms of online education, targeted education delivered in short segments. In addition, boards need to be attuned to the accreditation of the providers of this education. We currently are studying changes in education and continuing education and promoting updated uniform requirements across all jurisdictions. 10 years from now, you will more than likely see a new set of CPE standards that allows for learning segments in 10 to 15 minutes and competency-based learning. Board regulations will need to be ready for these changes and adjust accordingly. The last of my 3 E's is engaging talent. This is the area in which I'm most passionate. The demographics of the U.S. population is changing. It's been labeled the browning of America. We have to continue our efforts to assist Hispanic, Asian, African Americans, and other minorities become a larger part of this profession. We need to encourage young women to continue to enter this incredible, rewarding profession. As we learned this past year at our regional meetings, we also need to improve the diversity on our boards. Having a diverse composition of board members will lead to a better understanding and appreciation of the changing demographics and needs of a diverse community that we serve. One way, but not the only way, to proceed is to talk to those who appoint board members about the need for diversity on that state's boards. Diversity on boards of accountancy will bring different perspectives. This will make us stronger, better, more effective, and more relevant. Hopefully, 10 years from now, in our future, we won't have to talk about this topic anymore. We need to reach out to young people to spark their interest in becoming CPAs, just as we're considering what baby boomers can do as they move into the category of inactive CPAs. We're also doing more to help those outside the U.S. become CPAs and to recognize professions from other countries. Today, the exam is offered in Japan, the Middle East, and in Brazil. And the number of countries where the exam will be offered 10 years from now could be tenfold. Now, I completely understand how difficult it is to embrace change, even though you can't see it. I know this through personal experience, and some of you in the audience will know about this. I own a 1984 300D turbo diesel that has 532,000 miles on it. And I drive it every day. Now, let me see if I repeat that. I own a car that's 1984 was the year I purchased it. I still drive it. When I purchased that car, it had 5 miles on it. But I've owned it so long, it has now become a classic. But when I purchased that car, the most advanced thing going for cars was anti-lock brakes and a cassette player. So I understand that it's very difficult to get rid of the past. But because of the new technologies, I may take a test ride in a car. But have you seen the price of cars today? The future will be here before we know it, and be gone before we know it. Change is inevitable. As Ken Bishop touched on earlier today about change, and the 4 elements from the book, Who Moved My Cheese, change is going to happen. We should anticipate and look for change. We have a responsibility to monitor and measure change. And ultimately, we should enforce change that makes sense. If change is inevitable, NASBA and boards of accountancy must step up to ensure that we're doing the right thing and doing things right. I ask you once again to join me to put my future 3 E's in the past. Enforce your rules more effectively. Let's use the tools like ALD in this endeavor. Educate for optimization. Know that the future of education is changing, and boards must change along with the new forms of learning. 3, engage talent and diversity. The baby boomers are retiring, and we must find ways to grow this profession of ours with new and diverse talent. You are all future thinkers, whether you know it or not. You will make a difference by strengthening the accounting profession and your roles as regulators now and in the future. And by doing so, enhance public protection. This is what we are here for. Together, we can make a better future for boards of accountancy. I look forward to working with you this year as your chair. Thank you. As we all know, our past makes us who we are today and who we'll be tomorrow. I'd like to acknowledge some of the very special people in my past and present that have led me to lead you in the future for next year. First, I'd like to say to Ken Bishop, I'm looking forward to working with you, Ken. Thank you for your friendship, and we're going to have fun whether you want to or not. I'd like to introduce some of my family who are here. My oldest son, Walter Davenport Jr., and his friend Jane. Please stand. Winston Christopher Davenport and his wife Angela. My sister and her husband, Connie and Quince. My very special significant other, Maxine. And today we have her sister, Donna. I'd also like to recognize Jim Ayler and Sharon Bryson, who are here from the North Carolina Association of CPAs. Thank you all very much for coming. We've been great friends. And I couldn't get off the stage without at least acknowledging my state board, Bob Brooks and the board members who are here. I was on the board for 9 years, and I want to thank you all for supporting me in this journey to become chair and for your support. Thank you. But I now have one special recognition. I'd like to recognize someone who has been my business partner for 27 years. He was a mentor, a friend, golfing partner, business partner. I became involved in NASBA because of this gentleman. Today, they call this position chair. Back then, they called the position president. And he was the first North Carolinian to become president, and he was the first African American to become president. And because of him, because of what he's taught me, this is the reason I'm here. Nathan Garrett and Wanda, thank y'all very much.
Mr. Chair, where would you like to get the pictures of your family?
In the hall would be fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
and there's actually a screen over through that door over there.
Okay.
All right,
Good.
super. Thanks, Walter. Excellent presentation. No, I didn't forget it. I was just looking at the time. And our next speaker is here. That's what I was looking at. You will find at your tables that a copy of the November issue of North Carolina's nationally recognized Our State magazine and a Tar Heel bookmark outlining the history of why North Carolinians are known as Tar Heels. The North Carolina State Board and North Carolina Association of CPAs are sharing a bit of North Carolina with us to honor and commemorate the election of Walter Davenport, a true North Carolinian, as chair of the NASBA Board of Directors. Now, and so the board wants to get a pic with you, and I know you want to get a pic with your family, right? And so we're going to, okay? Pardon me? All right, let's move it along. Well, you got the IRS commissioner standing in the back, you know.
Oh, you want to?
I don't need to be raising my profile with that crowd.
I have no idea what y'all getting ready to do.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Yeah, you should be. You'll be okay. Last year, we had the opportunity to see Kentucky recognize our esteemed chair with a Kentucky colonel. And we thought, wow, we have our own Sir Walter of Raleigh. But we have we are excited. North Carolina is excited to have one of its own native sons become chair of NASBA, and we're very proud of that, Walter. And we have with us today Mike Womble, Bo Biggs, George Rowe, and Hunter Cook, and myself from the State Board. We have two past chairs of NASBA from North Carolina, Barton Baldwin and Nathan Garrett. And we're here to, and where's Jim and Sharon Bryson from the association? But I'm here to introduce a guest that you've already heard about, and it's a very humbling honor to introduce Nathan Garrett. Nathan Garrett is a quintessential Southern gentleman. He's demonstrated servant leadership, and he's blazed trails in this profession that's made it easier for others to walk. And Nathan's here, man, he's a mentor to many of us, but it must have been incredibly gratifying to have a mentor work side by side with you. Nathan's here to share something with you, Walter, and we're very proud of it.
As you can imagine, this is a very proud moment for me. This guy walked into my office 40 years ago to ask the directions to go to a client of mine in eastern North Carolina who was trying to recruit him to be their chief fiscal officer. He went down, looked things over, decided there weren't enough bright lights, and came back and says, "Can I have a job with you?" Well, I ultimately said yes. We don't have bright lights, but we did have more lights in Durham than they did in that location. over those years, Walter, passed the CPA examination. He came back from Atlanta, where he'd been in school and with one of the international firms. And he joined our firm, became a CPA, ultimately my partner. And of the 6 offices that we had in North Carolina, guess which one was the most profitable? The one that Walter ran. So, Walter, I don't know if I know the members of the audience know how it feels when one of your sons or daughters does something that clearly shows that they have exceeded what you had done. Walter has done that. Yes, we've talked a lot, but everything he has done, he's done at least as well, and most often a whole lot better than I. What I have here, Walter, is a certificate that you probably have heard of. It's called the Order of the Longleaf Pine, and it comes from the governor of North Carolina, Pat McCrory. This is not political. This is only given as follows. The Order of the Longleaf Pine, with the rank of Ambassador Extraordinary, privileged to enjoy fully all rights granted to members of this exalted order, among which is a special privilege to propose the following North Carolina toast in select company anywhere in the free world. Here's to the land of the longleaf pine, the summer land where the sun doth shine, where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. Here's to down home, the old North Carolina state. Walter, from the governor of North Carolina.